the intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Should you get Locutus or Jean-Luc Picard Vive la Borg? Should you go after this brand new fleet commander that has been made available here recently through an in-app purchase? Now, at the making of this video, I don't have an ETA of the free-to-play sourcing for Locutus. I've not been told that, and I'm sure it'll come at some point. So, at the purpose of this video, you could be watching this in the future just looking to see if he's worth it, and spoiler, he kind of is, but as of now, he's available in a pack because, of course, Scopely's going to make sure that we've got a pack just for you boys and girls who want to spend a little bit of money on our favorite Borg hero. But should you do it? Well,
yes, you should.
All right, Big S. Thank you. Always just really twisting our arm there on. You don't have to buy a pack, everybody. You don't have to.
Do it now.
Really wish you would stop trying to take over the video. Ugh, Scopely. But in all seriousness, joke and cringy dad humor aside, here is the pack that's available at the moment for $100. Now, yeah, there will be free-to-play sourcing for just about everything in the game. That does happen. But if you want it right now, there's the option. I'd say personally that $100 pack does not have as much value as a lot of $100 packs typically do. It's literally just Locutus. There's no extra goodies in it. And we were talking about that in my Discord. I'm kind of hit or miss on the value for the pack itself. But let's take a look at Locutus, who I do think is a very good commander. Let me go ahead and say this. Each commander that we've had come in the game kind of has their own focus, where you've had Spock really being kind of PvE focused and really on efficiency runs. You've got Kirk, who's a little bit more of a balanced type, especially for lower levels. And then we've got Locutus, who is really, really good if you're in PvP and Armadas. And for anybody that's already gotten there building up to level 40, obviously you can run 2. And when I do get him, depending on what fleet commanders come out in the future, this is definitely one that Rev will like to run. Like the video if you agree. I'm really big on PvP and the solo Armada mechanic. It's a personal favorite for mine. I realize that not everybody likes the solo Armada mechanic, but I really, really do. So let's take a look at the skill tree and how this is going to play out for Locutus, who right here, also real quick, Scopely, just what's going on? Like the 5-star ships came out like really ugly a year ago, and now why is he so blurry? Like what? It's like his resolution's turned down. It's like he's Comcast pushing a 720p picture and trying to say that it's 1080. Anyway, we should fix all these things in the game. Anyway, let's talk about his abilities. Now, for anybody who keeps asking, by the way, I don't have the answer for why it goes from 10 to 20 and then 40 and skips 30. It just is how it is. But we're going to move left to right. You can see that in other commanders, we're used to seeing different abilities. But here we're doing combatant, admiral, and mechanic. And admiral, mechanic, good. Solo one over here in combatant, I'm really liking. So let's talk about the first one, where increased piercing against players. This is valuable long term. In particular, this is going to be something else that just boosts your piercing stats and lowers your opponent's mitigation. Think of this kind of like having, because you don't have a ton of researches for piercing, you have a few. It's almost like having 6 of 11, just not the same way the 6 of 11 works, but a 200% bonus can definitely help and not hurt. Then you get to your first choice on the left side, where it'll be increasing damage while cloaked or increasing mitigation stats against players. I'm strongly going to recommend people get the mid stats versus players, but as you see a theme here in our PvP, into the 20, this is a permanent always on, which is a boost of mid stats while cloaked. This is kind of nice because it's going to help those who use cloaking, which at this point in the game is really used for things like Armadas. And that's actually what I use cloaking for the most, is Armadas, not PvP at all. So this actually will help in that regard. It does not limit it to just players, just while cloaked, so useful. And you have a choice mixed with a third option here, which is increasing critical damage against players. Obviously that is really valuable, and 100% increase is pretty significant if you remember how the math of criticals works. We've covered that several times. Hopefully y'all remember. If you don't, drop in the comment section. I'll happily explain how that works. So then we have over here the high power disruptor beams, which is critical damage while cloaked. And then over on the right side of that one, we have damage against players pure, which is the one that I would go for. I personally, again, not really big on the cloaking as a PvP mechanic, but I do think it has value. This is command center level 40 and commander rank 13. And then titanium memory alloy 1. Random requirement. But anyway, moving on to the 50s, your next permanent here on the left is increasing kinetic damage. Obviously, a lot of PvP players use battleships, and Then, of course, interceptors, which are going to be very, very PvP focused, and kinetic weapons right there. And then you've got this choice, which is critical damage against players for interceptors. And then right here, shots against players for interceptors. So as you can see, very PvP oriented, really going to fit well with your interceptor builds. And moving on to Admiral, which first choices you're going to make is increased damage against Klingon, Federation, or Romulan armadas. Now, for those curious, because it's pick one. In the original state of the game, a big thing that they really tried to push was that they wanted you to choose. And we actually had this discussion on Twitch last night when I was explaining it. They want you to choose B Federation, B Klingon, B Romulan. So this is kind of the antithesis of that here, where you're choosing which one to be angry against, which one to try to take down. And, you know, it doesn't really matter whatever you end up fighting the most. I actually end up fighting Feds the most because I'm dual faction grinding for Rom and Klingon. So getting Feds and being better against Feds technically helps out, but it's not honestly the biggest a deal. It doesn't really matter to me. Moving on to the second in the chart here. Increases damage against solo and groups. This is one I really like, and it's a permanent boost. So this is super valuable to me because this is against both sets of armadas, a permanent damage boost. You're not going to really need this against the Borg solos, but against regular solos, FKRs, etc. That's really handy. Then you get another selection choice of armor piercing against Dominion solos or going against Borg solos. My personal recommendation would be to do the regular solos, not limited to the Borg. That's just my personal take. I feel like the Borg are a lot easier to do thanks to the pre-existing research that gives you that 35,000% damage boost. That doesn't mean that that wouldn't be effective against the Borg, but just that I feel like it's a lot more valuable against the Dominion solos, which are a little tougher. Your level 40 option is increasing critical damage against solos. Again, another really good one. And this applies for both Borg and Dominion solos. Then you got your choice here at the bottom at 50, mitigation against groups or boosting your mitigation against solos. Again, up to you. Personally would go solo here. Mitigation for groups, there's several ways we can manipulate that with how the officer trickle down stuff works and everything. And just the fact that unless you're a level 60 player, there's somebody big that probably is coming with you. And then one on the far right, critical chance against solos. Again, just one I love and eventually maxes out of 10. Granted, you have to be very high level to even use that, but still. Final one, mechanic. Permanent is an increased ship repair speed. Love that, love that, love that. Super valuable. Getting to your choice on the far right side, armor for battleships, as you can expect, shield for explorers, and interceptors getting a dodge boost. Honestly, pick which one you use the most. Me? I've been using battleships the most. They're the current meta of the game. The best PvP in the game, battleships. The best hostile grinding in the game forever, battleships. One thing that is great in armadas, because of the hull health again, battleships. But the left side is focused on interceptors. So, you see? Choices. But I like choices. I think a good way to combat power creep is to make choices. Player choice. Put it in the game. Actually commend Scopely for some of this design. All right, here we go. Nanoprobe rewards against Borg Vidar hostiles. Useful, but long way for me. Then you get increased cargo. Again, both of these really good, especially for the current meta, which needs a huge overhaul with the Borg. But continuing on to the 40 options, increased protected cargo. Useful. Another permanent. Increase max shield health. Very nice. And then the 50s, max hull health and repair cost efficiency for ships. Really big for our high level players and 5-star players. So in general, is Borg Locutus good? Is he worth it? Short answer is yes. Should you buy him?
Yes. Yes, you should.
Really wish he would stop doing it. But for real though, like, is there value here? There is. He's a very good commander. So much so that, like, I would swap out, because you do have that 6-hour timer, and use Locutus at various points. I honestly would. And if when I get to 40, I would love to have him as my second option, not knowing what any future looks like. Is he a great addition to your gameplay? I think he is. He's one of the better things that I think in terms of the fleet commander. He's my personal favorite. But granted, I'm really big on PvP and solo armadas. I think he really adds to that element and adds to that layer of the game, which for a lot of people is really shallow sometimes. So I think that's good. I do think the other ones are good too. And I think that when it comes to your everyday grind, Locutus is not the best. Your everyday usage, Kirk or Spock are definitely more beneficial to the average player. But in terms of this niche that he does it really, really well. And then you got to decide if that value is enough for you to go after it, because Scopely really believes that people are going to go after it. How do I know that? Check the Fleet Commander IMS that, like, nobody is finishing. almost no server has completed this. And this is based on your server's population. Apparently not a lot of people recruiting Locutus. And look, I'm not trying to promote Locutus. I'm not trying to say that you got to buy it. The option's there. I don't know. How that, oh wow, that's from my football channel. How'd they get on the screen? I'm gonna leave it there. For those who ever wonder what I do on my football channel while we break down all 22 film. There you go. I don't know even how that came up on the edit. That's weird. I'm just gonna leave it in. Like, okay. I had it autoplay set up and that was weird. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it helped. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next one. And let me know what you think about Locutus in the comment section down below. If you don't know how to do that, it looks like this. It's a little bar. You just write your comment, hit the submit button, and I'll probably respond. Or I'll read it. I'll definitely read it. Let me know what you think. And I'm still kind of like, with the football film, where did that even come from? I didn't make that video like 3 weeks ago. Dude, my stream software and my recording software just had a conniption fit. Everyone know about football, and that was a zone run, actually, and how it works. Put that in the comment section, too. Back when fun rev fact, for those who are here 11 and a half minutes in, I actually was trained as an NFL scout and covered the New Orleans Saints professionally for 3 years. So that was fun. Anyway, bye.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.